What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA Wise stream. It is Friday, December 27th, 2019. And I am once again joined by the GOAT, the true OG, Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie with 8 D's. Paulie, what's happening?
What's happening, baby?
Another one of those slates, man. We had an interesting 5-gamer that looked ugly, but it was a good kind of ugly. It was a good ugly as in I felt like other people were going to play, we're going to have a hard time differentiating the better plays from the other plays. And now, with the news we got, Giannis is out, and news on the way. I think we get news as we speak. It's just like, Slate went crazy, Slate went chalky, and it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting for show. Real quick, those of you who are new to the channel, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to that channel. You're going to do yourself a favor. Hit the notifications bell so you're notified whenever we do go live. We go live Monday through Friday, an hour and 15 minutes before lock. Lead you into lock, updating you with news, updating you with how we plan on reacting, everything. If you're looking for some extra DFS help, if you're looking to join the DFS community, go check us out at WiseTake.com. We have day passes available if you want to try out the content. We can get into more of that later. In the meantime, Paulie, give me your overall thoughts on this donkey of a slate we got.
Yeah, 5 games with massive chalk coming out of Milwaukee now. It was a decent slate before that. And, 5 games with a mega chalk, definitely makes me want to be contrarian because of how concentrated the chalk's going to be. But, as you've just seen time and time again in NBA, the chalk rarely fails in these situations. So, with 150 teams, I plan to kind of split the field in half and just, be around 50% on that heavy chalk shit. There's a couple situations, plays that I'm going to be higher on than the chalk. And, if those plays are right for me, coupled with all that, 5x, 6x kind of locked in but chalk, could be good. But it's going to be hard to differentiate. And, there's not a ton of studs up top, ton of value that you don't really even need. There's a few ideas I have how I want to approach the slate, but it's not one that I would want to go crazy with my bankroll because I think at the end of the day, I think we could probably guess who'd be in 5 out of the 8 guys in tonight's winning lineup right now pretty easily. Those slates are usually kind of hard to win because you got to be dead on perfect.
Yeah, man. I know exactly what you're saying, especially on a slate so small with so little of a player pool overall. It gets pretty concentrated. But there are some interesting ideas. I think you and I are on the same page in terms of at least aside from the chalk, which we'll talk about individually as we go position by position. We have that balanced build kind of thing. We have a game plan to make sure we still get some of those more balanced blends in. And, just go at it, pick your exposure, be slightly overweight, but, I wouldn't get caught too more in between and just, as far as the chalk goes. And then as far as being overweight, be overweight on the stuff that you actually like for tournaments. Not the stuff that you feel like you have to play because they're projecting for whatever, because those guys you have to play at a good exposure. You make a decision if you want to be at the field, under, over. But, ultimately, if you're going to go underweight on those guys, you have to have somebody in mind who you're going to raise it then, be overweight on. 30s and 7s, you know how we do. Let's get into this. If you're watching this on YouTube, please smash that like button. If you could, I'm going to tell you a few more times, so don't get annoyed, but you're going to get it. But hit that like button. Likes go a long way. Likes help us out. Allow us to continue to do the shows for free, all the free content. Let's go get the likes. Let's click some likes. Let's go. All right, Paulie. Now that we're all pumped up, let's start off with point guards. Take me above 6K. What you looking at?
Yeah, so, with the Milwaukee game being so popular, I think it makes a lot of sense to grab exposure to Trae Young. I don't think he projects well. I don't think, if the Milwaukee stuff happened, he would have had any ownership at all today. But now he's going to be extremely popular as people try and, use the Milwaukee value and pair him and John Collins from the Atlanta side with all that Milwaukee stuff. So, you have the value to get him. I recommend you do, especially with the Milwaukee players. And then you got like Ben Simmons there, who doesn't really excite me. I'm more into like the mid tier. I like Ricky Rubio a lot. I like that game a ton. So you're just going to hear players from that game a lot out of me today. Um, you know, we saw Chris Paul go off yesterday. This is a back-to-back. Gallinari is still out. I think he's worth grabbing, but I'm a little hesitant. Terry Rozier, very good defender. We've seen him kind of shut down other point guards. I'm more into the other two guys than Chris Paul, but he's still certainly a very, somewhat optimal kind of play. Devontae Graham is that sneaky low-owned guy who, will probably, he's never higher than like 20%, will probably be pretty low-owned and has 50-plus point upside. I like him. Brogdon's the huge news we're waiting on. He feels way too cheap in a, game with both sides motivated to win. Terry Rozier is another one that'll be low owned, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did well. OKC has been playing fast. I don't think they're that much better than Charlotte, so that game could stay close, go down to the wire. And I guess that's it down to 6 for point guards.
Yeah, Malcolm Brogdon's pretty big news. I would agree. Underpriced on both sides. He's played like shit since coming back from his injury for the most part. But overall, I mean, if you take what he's been doing as an average on the season, he's been phenomenal in this new role. And I'm willing to play him a good chunk if I know he's in. The question is, even if he does play, it's a groin injury. It's not fun. And the fact that he was even questionable and not probable tells me that the groin's still bothering him at least a little bit. Right? Like if he was feeling completely healthy, then he probably would have been probable. But it is a back-to-back. I wouldn't be surprised if they do sit him, which will make things interesting. But if he is in, he's a guy that I definitely want. The good thing is that game is first, so we should have that news. Ricky Rubio, a nice tournament pivot, a guy I want to have a good amount of exposure to. Like you'd mentioned, Paulie, we're going to mention the Golden State Phoenix game quite a bit because that's the tournament game. I think you pairing that with the right chalk and the right guys from that game, I think could be the way to go tonight. So, like Paulie said, you'll be hearing us talk about guys from that game quite a bit. Trae Young, I myself wasn't really going to play Trae Young a ton, but we just got news that Jabari Parker's out. We just got news that Alex Len is out. While that doesn't affect him directly positionally, I find it hard, if this game is close, I find it hard for them to take him off the court much. I think he could be looking at another one of them 39, 40-minute games because John Collins, outside of him, it's like you're relying on guys like DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, Kevin Huerter, who can contribute to a degree, but obviously Trae Young, he's poised for one of those games to go for the 60 burgers or whatever it is, and raw points may matter more on a slate like this because there's not a lot of studs. So I'm not going to be crazy on Trae Young. I do like a lot of these other point guards like Rubio and some of the other guards in general and even some below. But I'll be sure to have some of Trae Young, and I actually made sure that he projects enough to where you should get some as long as you're using some sort of caps in your exposure and your optimizer. So if you're using the WiseTake projections, which are available at wisetake.com, and I'll be updating up until lock. Devontae Graham, like you said, that's just a guy that his price has come down, the opportunity's there. I don't have a lot of things from that game that I want. Both like Charlotte, that's actually like the second to last in pace. But they play poorly defensively, so you don't want to ignore it. They're terrible against centers, but Adams and Noel have been kind of playing weird. And oddly enough, even last year when they saw these guys, they didn't play particularly well. So Graham is one of the few guys from this game that I do want to make sure I have a good chunk of. He's just too cheap, and that dude's got 60-point upside. You just on a 5-game slate that could really hurt you because just a lack of options. With that said, Paulie, take us down under 6K.
All right. First guy I'll talk about is Aaron Holiday. 0 interest unless Malcolm Brogdon gets ruled out, and then I have a lot. Kevin Huerter at 52. He's probably more shooting guard, but I do like him. Atlanta's kind of thin, and if that game's close, I expect their starters to get a lot more minutes than they're projected for. They really seem to be like 5, maybe 6 guys deep at this point. You got Markelle Fultz in a revenge spot. I don't mind. I'm really into the talent on Markelle Fultz. Don't love the minutes that he gets, and he's kind of like third, fourth option with whatever talented guys they have on the court with them. But maybe he's a little extra motivated, and he contributes across all stat lines. So like when all things kind of go right, when variance strikes your way, like he could pop off for a 40, and he's going to be like 2% owned if Brogdon gets ruled out. We should get that news any minute now. TJ McConnell becomes one of the better value plays at 4,300. Love George Hill at 4,200. I believe he leads the NBA right now in 3-point percentage, and has just been extremely consistent. Hasn't taken a million threes a game, but 3 for 3, 3 for 6, 2 for 3, 3 for 5. Like very, very consistent, and should see a major increase in usage with all Giannis's floating around. And then, Malik Monk's a guy I like to play on these kind of days. He's 3,500. You never know when he's going to pop off, but he can do it in a short amount of minutes. If the game blows out one way or the other, he'll have no problem taking a million shots. And, I think he should get around 20 minutes regardless of how he plays. And he's 3.5 and a guy that could outpoint per dollar George Hill and Ilyasova if he is on. So I'll have a little exposure to him. It's a 5-game slate, and we got 100. I got 125 teams today. So I think he's worth a shot, but not a ton. I mean, Hill, if Brogdon's out, McConnell, and then it's mostly mid-tier for me.
Yeah, man, I think Giannis has been officially ruled out, by the way, for anyone. That if doubtful was not good enough for you, Giannis is officially out. George Hill, definitely the first player that comes to mind. I'm going to have a good amount of him. Looking at this year, he hasn't, they haven't had a ton of games without Giannis, but when Giannis is off the court and Bledsoe's off the court, Hill's averaging about 1.15, 1.18, something like that, fantasy points per minute. I don't necessarily think Hill's a lock for 30 minutes by any stretch, but I think that 24 is a reasonable floor as long as the game stays close. And if the game stays really close, maybe he gets even more than that. Maybe he does get closer to 27, 28, being that he is one of the few veterans at this point. Well, I shouldn't say few. Illy's a true vet. But after that, I agree with you. There wasn't a ton down here that I liked. I think, like you had mentioned about what's his name? You just talked about him. Shit.
Malik Monk.
No.
McConnell.
Oh, yeah. There you go. If Brogdon is out, then obviously Holiday and McConnell. Yes, then those are the two guys that we have to really take a close look at. But yeah, as far as the cheap guys go, Hill's my favorite. You had pointed out Goran Dragic to me, and I'm cool with that. Like, it's not a guy that I have a ton of right now, but I'm considering it. And if Brogdon gets out, I think I may give him a tiny little boost as well. Because I mean, for matchup purposes, at least I think that's a plus, right? Like replacing McConnell and Holiday with Brogdon, that's a whole different, type of defense. It's like two little dudes opposed to one like big guard. Like Brogdon was like a 4 with a 3 in college. He was like, so do the dirty and move on. Let's go to shooting guards. Take it to the tap.
Where did Brogdon go to college?
Virginia.
Trivia.
Virginia. Not Virginia. Not Virginia Tech. Virginia.
No.
Virginia Cavaliers.
Who won the national championship in basketball last year?
Last year, bro? I don't freaking know.
Virginia.
Was it Virginia, really?
Yeah, I only won one. I mean, I only know because someone asked me earlier, and they were like, "Oh, aren't you into sports?" I do not know. I'm like, I don't really follow college.
Yeah, well,
anyway.
I used to be into college until DFS took a hold of my life.
Yeah. If they made those contests better, college would.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so many fucking teams.
Yeah.
That's wildness. But
agreed.
Shooting guard, gonna have a ton of D'Angelo Russell. He'll probably be one of my highest owned players today. Jimmy Butler, I think, is underpriced. In a game I expect to be close. He does a lot. Everyone on that team has taken a slight hit, though, with Dragic back, who gets a ton of usage when he's on the court. And, him and Jimmy Butler probably don't play a ton together because they're both kind of facilitators, but they don't need Jimmy out there as much with Dragic back. So the price kind of has built that in, though. So at 78, I'm all right with him. Chris Middleton, great play. Not much explanation needed there. Devin Booker, 6,900. that's, wildly cheap. Devin Booker has been one of my favorite DFS plays for a while. Definitely going to have some. I love that game, but I honestly prefer Rubio and Oubre, but I'm going to have more than 40% of all three. Like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he was on his way to a massive game and just died in the fourth quarter yesterday. Dennis Schroeder, don't think many people will be on, and he's playing and played 32 minutes, had a 35% usage to 21 shots. And prior to yesterday, had gone for 40 and 3 straight with Danilo Gallinari there. So he's a really nice bounce back candidate today that probably will be very low owned. And, if you do a balanced build, shouldn't have any problem getting him in there. That's it, down to 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a loaded position overall between all those guys that you had mentioned, Devin Booker and Russell. I'm seeing them projected for ownership that's pretty close to each other in tournaments, and for good reason. The price is low on both. The game looks really good. Spots really good. Matchups really good. So those two definitely headline the position for me as well. And Jimmy Butler on both sides. His price has come down. Like you said, Dragic being back has lowered his production. It's lowered his role a bit. But his price is starting to come down. So we're at that point. We've got to pay attention to see how low he gets. And today's one of those days where I will play him because at some point the price is going to get too low. Is it too low now? I don't know. How does he do it? I don't know. But I will say that I'm go get you. But yeah, the position is fairly loaded. I would imagine those guys are going to take up most of my airs as far as the guys above the 6K range. Let's talk about the guys below the 6K range. Paulie.
There's one guy left out, and he's from that Warriors game. Alec Burks, he's at 61. Damian Lee had the monster game on Christmas. D'Angelo Russell's a guy that everyone's going to want to play. Burks had gone for 48 and 40 the 2 games prior. Had a bad day on Christmas. Minutes came down a tad. But he's in my opinion, I want just as much of him as Lee, and maybe slightly less of him and Lee than D'Angelo Russell, but close. Where are you on Alec Burks in relation to Lee and Russell?
It makes sense. I mean, his price is going to keep him low owned. He's at 6-1. When he's in the 5s, it's a lot easier to click his name because he's coming off the bench. He's not guaranteed to close. It depends on the game flow and how he's doing that day. But he does have the upside, and you're going to get him at lower ownership. So I like him the 3rd. I do like Damian Lee quite a bit. But there's definitely paths for Damian Lee getting into foul trouble, all different kinds of things like that. And Alec Burks, regardless, should benefit in some way because of the injury. You know what I mean?
Also, they're very highly likely to trade Alec Burks, so they may play him some more to, just like we saw Cleveland do that with Love and Clarkson.
Right. Right, exactly.
Little dime drop on you right there.
Dime drop.
Yeah. But underneath 5, who do we got? Not too interested in those guys. Kevin Huerter, right? You mentioned that point guard, but I like, pretty much everyone on Atlanta in the starting 5. Tyler Hero's a guy that I'm kind of always going to play when he's cheap. Anyone that can get hot from 3 and hit a ton of them and has decent usage when he's playing well. At low ownership, at that price with 8 to 10x upsides, it's worth getting some exposure to. Not a ton, but worth getting some. Glenn Robinson, the 3rd, I like a lot. Another piece from that game. His minutes are super secure. He should be out there just guarding Booker a ton. Duncan Robinson is now down to 4,100. Same thing I said for Hero applies to him, just a little bit less because most of his is dependent on the 3-point shooting. He doesn't do much else where Hero does. And then Cam Reddish is another cheap value guy from Atlanta that I just think is playing too much minutes for what his price is. And then you got this carousel of Milwaukee guys, Pat Connaughton, Wes Matthews, and Sterling Brown. I would rank them Brown, Connaughton, Matthews, and not a ton of interest in any of them, but I'll have about 15 to 20% because it's a small slate and they're all underpriced for the usage increase that they could or should get. So you just don't really have the studs to use all of that value for. But Sterling Brown at mid price can be super aggressive. He'd probably be my favorite out of that group.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the more we're looking at this, the more and especially with the news we got, the value over in Atlanta is looking pretty good at this point. Like Collins and Trae Young are obviously good plays, especially Collins. I think with no Jabari and their reluctancy to play those other two centers, I think Collins is gonna play a lot of minutes today, and Trae Young as well. And like you said, man, like DeAndre Hunter's he's been playing like 39 minutes a game and in general. So just the value over there in general is starting to like really like pop now, and it's like, okay, I see what's going on here. With that said, you got Kevin Huerter, who's like 5,200. I know it's a tough position. We already mentioned how loaded it is, but he's a guy on DraftKings. It's a little easier to work him in, and I think he's got no minute restriction. He's been playing a lot better recently as well. Just in general, it's again like you got that DiVincenzo dude, right? It's another guy who could benefit in a really good matchup from the absence of Giannis and Bledsoe and everyone. So, yeah, it's a fairly loaded position, and it's tight. Like it's a lot of high exposures, and of course, Damian Lee, who I had mentioned to you, I prefer over I guess the other options right now from Golden State. I like the other guys at Golden State, but he's probably one of my favorites, and that's not he's no like lock at his price. It's not like it's just me looking how he's playing, and if Golden State's gonna hang in this game, I think they've been playing more competitive lately in general, and it's because of him. I think I really do. I think it's been a huge difference maker. Took the job from Paschal, even if Paschal was playing, it's his job now. He took it. Small forwards.
Yep. This is ugly on the high end. There's just not much up here. Not really too into Ben Simmons, but I'll have some. Chris Middleton's obviously the standout chalk of the slate. Tobias Harris versus former team in Orlando, 6,600. He's really like the number 2 guy in that offense after Embiid. And like Embiid's not playing more than 30 minutes a game lately, right? So he gets a ton of playing time on the court where he's getting big usage, into the high 20s. At 6'6", with little motivation, he didn't like the departure from Orlando. Like, he's all right. He's going to be totally overlooked today. You got the 2 guys from Orlando, Aaron Gordon or Isaac. I prefer Isaac, but either one could do well. I just prefer someone else from Orlando a lot more than these guys. Draymond Green, if the Warriors play well, and it seems like they have a little bit of like momentum and trying to do well right now, like, Green's probably contributing to that, triple-double upside if you can get the scoring. Love Damian Lee. He's 5'9". Cut it off there. So, yeah.
7s all day and all night. Yeah, this position was interesting, I thought. Middleton, obviously, on DraftKings is going to take up a good portion. And I know for the FanDuel players, it goes to show. I think he's shooting guard over there. Tough to make some decisions between D'Lo, Booker, him, and Huerter. Like you got some decisions to make over there. Middleton, though, I mean, he's going to be extremely popular, as he should. Usage rate around 37%. I know Paulie touched on all this. I'm not going to spend too much time, but Middleton is going to headline a good amount of teams. Kelly Oubre is a guy I like. We mentioned wanting exposure to that game. I think he is my favorite more off stance. I think Tobias Harris projects better, and I'm going to have Tobias Harris as well. He's been one of the more consistent 76ers in that mid-range and giving you like mid-range type performances as well. But those are probably the main 2 above 6K. And again, I'm going to have a little bit more Oubre, of course, outside of the guys we spoke about. And I have a little bit more Oubre more as like my tournament leverage if I'm right about that game and he's low owned and I'm over the weight. It's just a little stance. That's all. Value land.
Dante DiVincenzo, I like more and more, like the kid's game, and think that he'll have a pretty significant usage, shot attempts, and he grabs rebounds. With Giannis out, it's just a lot to go around. People probably look at his 5-1 price tag and, you know, shy away, but he'll probably get this. He might lead the team in minutes today, and the shot attempt should be above 10. I like him. I do like DiVincenzo. Really like Miles Bridges. Would have liked PJ Washington not to be in, but still, I think he'll see minutes between 25 and 35. Decent usage, contributes across multiple statistics. 4,800 in what should be kind of an up and down kind of game, I think is pretty sneaky. Really like DeAndre Hunter. He may see 40 minutes today. Derrick Jones Jr. is just fucking awesome. The minutes have been between 25 and 35 the last almost 10 games now. When he gets going and gets a couple fast break points, coupled with the rebounds, what he could do steal block wise, he can put together big games. But he's not much more than 5% kind of dart kind of play. Darius Bazley, starting 3,600. Maybe the game blows out. He gets a ton of minutes, but he's, 2 games ago went for 23.5. Yesterday he kind of sucked, but he, should get decent minutes and was pretty good in the preseason. And then we got some value darts that you don't really need, but, I think DeAndre Bembry's worth a look. If, somebody gets into foul trouble in that starting group of Hawks, I think he's kind of the next guy in. James Ennis at 3,100 should get good minutes for Philly, and then you got Cameron Johnson and Mikal Bridges from Phoenix. I love that game. Those are two, sneaky value plays from that game that, if one of the two were out, the other would be an obviously good play. I'm not sure who gets more minutes out of this group, but, either one I think is worth getting a little bit of ownership too, especially if you're game stacking that. But again, it's mostly mid-tier, Glenn Robinson and up to Chris Middleton at this position.
Yep. Don't have too much difference to add. You mentioned DiVincenzo again. On DraftKings, he's eligible at small forward, and I agree. He's growing on me a little bit more too. The more looking at it, it seems like as you get into this game is just standing out more and more. I mean, it did already, but when you're debating whether you should go over or underweight on a game, not the players in the game, you can still make your decisions differently in the game, within the game. But when you look at the situation of the game, you're like, okay, this I need that. Maybe I need to have a little bit more of these guys than I currently do. And like I mentioned before, DeAndre Hunter. The minutes have looked insane right now. He's playing a ton of minutes, and with all these injuries they have, he's in line for another, massive amount of minutes. The usage isn't great. I know it's not his game. The peripherals aren't always there, but he's going to have to play a lot of 4 today, assuming that Collins gets a lot of time at the 5, and it just seems like, he should play a lot of minutes. So, yeah, Hunter's another value play that stands out for sure. Let's go over to power forward, Paulie.
All right. John Collins went for 50 his first game back. No Giannis means he shouldn't get into foul trouble and, should have his way with rebounds and scoring on the inside. Should see big minutes, played 35 in his first game back. And without Giannis, this team's really, really weak at rebounding and defending inside the paint. So he profiles as a really awesome play at 7,600. Really like the Mantis Sabonis. Power forward's the one position that's really done the dirty to Miami. I don't know how much longer they're going to be rolling out fucking Myers Leonard, but until they get somebody else there, Sabonis should do well. And we know what his ceiling is when the rebounds and the points kind of pile up. I think if Brogdon gets ruled out, he becomes more popular, but the usage should solidify. You mentioned Oubre at small forward. I absolutely love him today at 6,300 against Golden State. One of my favorite plays on the slate. And that's it. I don't got much more. Down to 6.
Down to 6 all day. Yeah, I'm with you. Collins is like he's the standout, right? Collins, and then after him, there's Sabonis, and Sabonis and Collins could be very much in a similar playing field if Brogdon gets ruled out. But Collins for sure. I mean, the minutes he balled out against Cleveland, good matchup. This situation is just he's gonna get Brolo, the donut as we like to call him, just super soft. Brolo and Illy down low as opposed to Giannis at all. It's just really good situation to be in. I can. We talked about Oubre. I can grab some Horford. I don't mind having a little bit. I'm not trying to chase his last performance. He has looked a little rough with Embiid there, but he's cheap, 5.7 on DraftKings. I don't mind grabbing some. With that said, let's move it over to the value.
All right. Al Horford projects well at that price of 5,700. He's fine. I'm not that into him, but he's, some sites are projecting him to be pretty popular, and that is a low price tag. Dario Saric, another piece from the Phoenix game that I like. The minutes are a concern with Baines back, but just a piece that I'll get. And I don't even know if there's anyone here I haven't talked about. Oh, Marquez Chris, another with Paschal getting ruled out, maybe someone gets into foul trouble. Maybe he sees a little bit more minutes than like the 12 and 13 he's been getting. His usage has been phenomenal when he's on the court. His point per minutes has been phenomenal. This is his former team. All they really need is one out of Draymond, Willie Cauley, to get into foul trouble, get ejected, something happen, and he could just be a phenomenal play with motivation. And it's just been great when he plays. I'm surprised he doesn't play more. And then Ersan Ilyasova, top optimal value play on the slate, 3,300. He was a good play before Giannis was out. Now he's just phenomenal. We'll have a lot of him. Just hard to see him hurting you at 3,300.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Illy, it's like a situation where I think say Illy's projected to be 50% or so. If you really like the play, maybe go 60, 70 maybe. If you're dealing with contests differently, maybe you can go even higher in one contest, but I think you want to leave some room without him. I'm not saying he's not a bad play. I'm not saying that he's going to bust. But you and I were talking earlier, Paulie, and there is a scenario on a slate like this where the studs aren't necessarily locks to go for those monster games and the mid-tier looks strong. There is a scenario where you're sacrificing ceiling at that position at that play if the mid-tier ends up being the stronger way to go. So the probability tells me Illy's gonna hit his projection and he's gonna smash and it's gonna work out, but I would leave some room without him and more balanced approach, balanced builds. If you don't know what to do, game stack the Suns and the Warriors game and just go fully mid-tier. See, for a team, right? 30s and 7s. Nothing else to really add based off what you said for the value guys. Not a lot that stands out to me. DeAndre Hunter, I talked about already. Let's go to centers.
Yeah. So, all this value allows you to get as much Embiid as you want. I think he's absolutely fine, probably underpriced. I will probably have like 20-25% of him. I fucking love Bam Adebayo. So impressed with this guy's game. And, Indy does not do well against bigs. I think he could be a really sneaky, awesome play today where he goes for a ceiling of 55, 60. No one has him. And he's that piece that sets you apart, and you can certainly go get him with the value. And I also love Vooch at 7,700. He has just had a vendetta against Philly since they kind of gave up on him at the beginning of his career. And he has torched them consistently, even though this is now like a 5-year-old narrative, or I don't know how long. But on top of that, he has minutes back over the 30s. He's gone for 57 2 games ago against Portland. And I think the game is close against Philly. So, really like Vucevic. Just think the usage, the volume, rebound, all that good stuff at 7,700. Like him. Don't mind Steven Adams. Don't put the back-to-back, but centers have crushed Charlotte. Miles Turner, I do think is kind of interesting against Miami. All of a sudden he played 36 minutes that last game against Toronto. I'm guessing that was overtime. has the opportunity to go out and get multiple blocks. The rebounding should be good. And he's taken like 5 to 7 3-pointers in the last 8 games, which if he's hitting those at his price, he can really like combine the rebounds, the blocks, all that into a really nice point per dollar day. And another guy that no one's really going to have. Brook Lopez, certainly like we just saw team, Atlanta. Who did they just play? Cleveland. I can't think of it. Somebody just smashed for 50 points a center. That was on the States today against Atlanta. That's not Brook Lopez's game, but he does block a ton of shots. Atlanta is the most blocked team in the NBA, and he should see an increase in shot attempts and rebounds today. So, like Brook Lopez, Bismack Biyombo, really like the minutes. Centers have done the dirty to Steven Adams all season long, and because Steven Adams will be out there, I think we'll continue to get those minutes, even with PJ Washington back. Willie Cauley-Stein, one of my least favorite of the Warriors, but I'll still have around 50% of him because he's too cheap, playing very well, and Phoenix does not offer much resistance. I prefer Aaron Baines from the same game at center, because Willie Cauley-Stein plays no D, and then Nerlens Noel, again, centers dominate Charlotte. They are without Danilo. He only played 17 minutes yesterday. Didn't do very well, but that was against Memphis. They do have some size. This is a much better spot. And, he can do the dirty in a very short amount of time. But again, everything's in the mid-tier. We do have some actual expensive options at center, too, today.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. My list is pretty much the same. In terms of exposures, we talked about earlier Collins. Vooch, one of those guys up there as far as one of the centers that I actually spend some money on aside from Collins. Vooch will be one of them. Brolo, Baines, Cauley-Stein are the main ones. Because of all the value, I'll probably have around 20% Embiid, which I'm comfortable with because he has the ceiling to be one of those guys. And I'm good. Like that's it for center for me, really. I mean, I'll have a couple percentages of Adams and Noel. Our projection wise, we didn't really reach them, but the matchup is phenomenal. I wouldn't be shocked if they did well. Definitely a situation I don't want to not have any of. But yeah, I mean the pool is tight. That's the one positive. I got a tight pool today. You know what I mean? Tight like a toilet. Well, I'll tell you what though, I'm starting a little nervous that it's 30 minutes to lock and we don't have this Brogdon news. You know what I mean? Like what's going on? You got to know. But you know what? Literally in a minute or so, we should be getting lineups for those 7 o'clocks. Like anybody that hasn't given one already, we got some. But that's going to do it for the position-by-position breakdown. Let's go flip and see if we have any questions here. If we have any questions here. No questions in the Wise stream chat. Let's check the YouTube chat. If we are stacking Milwaukee versus Atlanta for cash, how many players from each side would you be comfortable with?
Young, Collins, and even a third Atlanta like Hunter or Herter. And so 3 from Atlanta, and then Middleton, Ilyasova, Hill, and even like a DiVincenzo. So I'd say like up to 7 even, but probably feel better with 5 or 6.
Yeah. There's a question I'm going to answer in a second, but I saw another question that brings up a good point. So I'm going to ask this one first. DFS 300 says, what about the talk from Steve Kerr about better defensive preparation? Think they start slowing down and playing better D? And that's interesting because you had pointed out that over the last X amount of whatever it was, that they've been one of the best defensive teams in the league, actually.
Yeah, they have been playing good defense. Not 100% sure how that statistic gets, what goes into it. But just because they're playing good D doesn't mean they slow down. And, these two teams have played incredibly fast offensively. So, I'm not that concerned about that. It didn't really show in the Houston Golden State game on Christmas, but defensive rating wise, they are already playing good, much better on defense. They seem motivated. Like I like what I'm seeing out of Golden State, and but I'm not too concerned with its DFS impact. If anything, maybe it's positive. We get some more steals and transition opportunities.
Boom. Doing dirties. Next question. Do you have any stacks of Rubio and Booker on the same team? I'm sure I will, because I'm going to have a good amount of both of those players, so I'm sure I will.
Well, like Ricky Rubio correlates with everybody, right? Because he gets a ton of assists.
Right.
And close back and forth game. They're both going to get a ton of minutes. They're both underpriced. You can absolutely play them together.
Agreed. All right, at this point, let's go ahead and flip. I want to flip the screen to the Slack chat, so we'll get here we go. Malcolm Brogdon ruled out. We just got the news. Aaron Holiday will start. So Malcolm Brogdon has been ruled out. Paulie, talk to me about what this means for you.
Really like TJ McConnell. Makes TJ Warren, Jeremy Lamb interesting plays, makes Aaron Holiday, especially on FanDuel, very good play, and increases Domantas Sabonis' usage. Probably makes the game a little faster. Brogdon was a good defender and a facilitator that set up the offense. The game may play a little more helter-skelter. So, all in all, I was hoping for that. I think that makes this game, stackable as well. Like it could, it's two of the better teams in the East with one of the better defenders not there. And, the guys left have really nice price tags. So very stackable game. And, TJ McConnell is one of the better value plays on the slate, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely makes Sabonis and one of the more optimal plays again. Like you said, this game you were expecting to be competitive. Little playoff preview. McConnell cheap and is a high point per minute player this year, man. He's been doing it dirty in his opportunity for sure. All right, let's see. Any of the questions? Brogdon out. Let's go. We'll see if we get any other news. I know Aaron Holiday is starting. If you have any questions, go ahead and get them in there. In the meantime, we're just going to hang out, wait for news. Paulie, I'm going to have you pull up one of the chats while I update this Milwaukee information for the projections over at WiseTake.com. Again, if you want access to these projections, you just have to be a member at WiseTake.com. We have day passes available for $2.49. You get access to all the content today. This Paulie's DraftKings cheat sheet with his core, Cam's FanDuel cheat sheet, my core plays article, and the projections. Let's go.
All right. I'll open up YouTube first since I had that open. Sorry, Nation. But I'll be coming to y'all momentarily. Just you dropped that shit on me out of nowhere, and I wasn't prepped for it. So
long and hard. That's how I dropped it on you, bro.
Let me stall out for a minute till I get where I need to be and do 30s to everybody. Everybody. All right. Enough of that. YouTube. WiseTake. Wow. Only 8 likes right now, so I ain't taking it. I see a like. All right.
Earth is your planet right now. I just want you to know that.
Earth is my planet.
Right now.
No questions there, so I'll check out.
You went all the way over there.
Yeah, you guys made me go all over there. Don't worry. If y'all got some questions, I'll come right back.
You went all the way to the YouTube chat. All the way there.
Wise stream status.
Starting lineup, it confirmed for Milwaukee, DiVincenzo Matthews, Middleton, Ilyasova, Brook Lopez. Rolodo.
I'm in the WiseTake Nation, WiseStream chat, and no question in the game stack a minute ago. Burks or Draymond in a game stack. I like them both. I would say Draymond works with everybody because he's a facilitator and doesn't really get in the scoring guy's way. Burks, D'Angelo Russell, and Lee, they'll probably be one that's odd man out or doesn't go as high point per dollar wise as the rest. So in the game stacks, although I think Burks is the better play, Draymond is like the mainstay in the stacks because he's one of their higher assist guys. Burks, Lee, D'Angelo, I'd probably rather have two of the three with Draymond instead of those three without Dre. So that's how I'm doing that. Adams, how much Adams do you have? I'm not planning on getting a ton of Steven Adams. Probably like a 15% guy for me today. Let's see if anything else comes through the wire. 23 minutes till Lockington.
That's right. Till Lockington. Clock.
Do we have Indiana's starting lineup, by the way?
I know that they said that Holiday is starting.
Okay, so it's going to be Holiday, Lamb, Warren, Sabonis. What's his name? The center?
Turner, yeah.
Turner, yeah, okay.
Turner, yeah, for true. Brogdonian one.
Seven, 3, 2. What you gonna do?
That's right. Boom. So we got that Brogdon news. That's good. That's gonna free up some point guard for me too. Because if Brogdon was playing, I was gonna have to have like a good chunk.
Yeah.
Like that price was just too low. Just wasn't having it. All this madness. Boy. Get these projects upgraded.
Who are you looking at as some of your higher exposed guys?
I'll tell you in a second. I'm just updating these projections. I'm uploading them now to see if there's anybody else popping up that I want to look at. I'm sure there will be. The Brogdon news is going to drastically change my pool and my exposure, so I just got to see how that's going to affect it and make decisions accordingly. Yeah, accordingly. So I'm definitely going to have a lot of I'll have about 50 to 60% of Ursan. He'll be my highest because he's the cheap, After that, I'll have Middleton and George Hill, a good chunk. Booker, Collins would probably be the next tier as of now. But again, I got to go back because I think Sabonis I now have to upgrade. So I'm going to see what happens to some of the other shares here. When I do one dirty, what happens to the other? What about you, man?
I'm working on that. What about out of Rubio, Booker, Oubre? How do those guys rank in your exposures?
I'm going to have the most of Booker just because, from an opportunity standpoint, it just seems like I'm getting the best, price on him. But Rubio and Oubre are both going to be around 30% for me, 35%, while Booker's more like 40, 45, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna have at least 30% of those 3 players. Really 4 players because I'm gonna play Baines too. So yeah. How much Vooch are you playing?
I just lowered him because I want more Bam and Sabonis now, but probably like around 30.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. The Sabone. The Sabone. Let me see. Question from Charles Pitt: What tool do you use to bulk generate all of your lineups? Does WiseTake have one of those? We don't have an optimizer. We do sell projections that you can upload into whatever optimizer you use. And Paulie and I both use Fantasy Cruncher. They're members on our team who use Roto Grinders, Lineup HQ, which I believe is free. I know people who use Fantasy Labs. It's really whatever you're comfortable with. The concept, the basis of it is pretty similar. It's about what features are easier for you. So.
The optimizer is not as important as the projections. Whatever the optimizer, you can take 10 optimizers and upload your projections, and the optimizers should basically spit out the same kind of stuff. The projections are what dictate what you get. So
right, it's the brains of everything.
It is.
It's the brains.
Indeed.
How much Trae Young are you playing, bro?
I just put his cap at 40, but hard to see him not doing his usual 50 plus. That might be the highest raw scorer on the slate. It's no problem to get him. He could go for 60, and if you don't have him, you're fucked. He's like one of the rare few guys on the slate that have that today. So I'm just making sure, because it's not a problem to get him,
Right.
So I'm just going to get a bunch.
That is a good point. That is a good point, sir. How much Jimmy Butler are you playing?
I have like 18% of him.
Mr. Buckets. Man, I feel like I gotta sneeze and I can't.
That's not fun.
Oh man, it finally came. Oh man, that was a good thing I muted it. That was a loud one. That was brutal. Whew. Oh, genius. Okay, we got a question. What's your hot take of the night?
Hot take of the night? Bam Adebayo goes for 60.
Hot take indeed. Bigger Bam. $15 minutes to lock.
What's your answer to that question?
Oh yeah, I guess I forgot to answer it. Let's see. Hot take. My hot take, and I'm playing the optimal guys a good chunk, like Middleton and all those guys. But my hot take is that the winning lineup does not have Illy. and it's a balanced game stack of the Golden State game. How about that for a hot take? Hot enough.
Yeah, hot enough. Not hot to death, but hot enough.
Not scorching. Hot enough.
Let me know if you see a Pacers lineup come through. I think you're muted.
Got you. Got you. All right, 13 minutes to lock. Nothing coming through yet. Nothing coming through yet. Go.
Good day, mate.
Good day, mate. Beating you at this point.
So it's your third and fourth highest owned Milwaukee Bucks.
First and third, you said?
No, third and fourth.
Oh,
obviously,
Hill and DiVincenzo. Well, is it? Yeah, Hill and DiVincenzo. No, Hill and Lopez, and then DiVincenzo. DiVincenzo and Hill are like the same, but Hill would be the number 3 for sure.
Okay. Who are your 3 highest owned value plays besides Ilyasova?
I cannot answer that at this moment.
Okay. Korkmaz has been playing well. What's your thoughts on him? That's a question from YouTube.
I'm not terribly interested in it. I don't mind it as a flyer, but I'm not going out of my way to do it.
Just too much solid value out there. Question in the Wisestream chat. What's your opinion on Nunn tonight? Projecting well at low ownership. I don't see how he could be projecting well with Dragic back and both, Duncan Robinson and healthy, and even fucking that guard who got in trouble for having a weed freak out. The edibles is even
he's active.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play, but he's active. MG wants us to talk about Indiana. Where you at with the Indiana? Because I have a lot of McConnell and Sabonis, and then TJ Warren's not far beneath that. Aaron Holiday, is a little expensive, but I like him too, and I do like Miles Turner quite a bit. Like, where are you at with Indiana?
I don't know if I'm not quite as heavy. Sabonis obviously gets a big boost. I think it's a boost for Turner. I'm cool with the guards, but I already like a lot of guards, and I don't think I like any of these guys enough to take me too far off. So I'm gonna grab exposure to like McConnell. I'm seeing, I don't even know like how much Holiday I end up with at his price, but really Sabonis is the main upgrade for me here.
Okay, I'm like a bunch higher on that game. I think it should be close, competitive. I like game stacks a lot. The Miami side is harder. It's like Bam and then, a little bit of Butler, a little bit of Dragic. Don't really want too much Butler and Dragic together. And then like the 3-point guys like Hero. Nunn's like the one I'm almost like least interested in at his price with Dragic back. But I do like that game. I think TJ Warren could go for like 35 and be one of the better, point per dollar plays on the slate that people are going to kind of ignore. Love TJ McConnell. Who do you prefer between TJ McConnell and George Hill?
George Hill.
George. Okay. I say McConnell. How about Domantas Sabonis or Bam?
Sabonis. You're asking me who I'm gonna have more of?
Yeah, who do you like better? Who do you think's a better play? Who do you recommend the nation gets more of?
I mean, the optimal answer, like Bam. To me, Bam is like a good guess, but to me, Bam is more of a guess, right? Like he's priced what he's been doing. On the other hand, I like it for tournaments because Indiana is so big, they don't have really any of the true bigs. So I would imagine they're going to play all the Bam they can handle. But optimally, the spot just got a lot better for Sabonis, who was priced at a point where Brogdon was in. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a roundabout answer.
Who do you rank Miles Turner, TJ Warren, and Jeremy Lamb?
Hold on, I can't do all that right now, bro. I got too much going on here.
Freaking out.
Yeah, man. I got some shit going down. Just.
The other Aaron Holiday, Justin Holiday, is also a candidate to see decent minutes. He's never been a huge point per minute guy, so he's my least favorite of the group, but he is cheap and he has done well in other similar spots like this year. But McConnell, Miles Turner, and Domantas are probably my three favorites, with TJ Warren not far behind and everyone else is pretty far away. But yeah, I'm still importing lineups as well, so I'm semi-distracted. Seven minutes till the Lockington. I'm almost done, guys, so I'll jump into both chats and see if there's other questions. I have one more sheet to upload, and then I can jump ship and see what's Gucci. Seven, 3, 2. What you gonna do? This is 5, 6, 1. You better run. All right. Make this into a CSV for me today, the plays, and then I will download and then upload to DraftKings, and then I'll take care of any remaining questions as CK is spiraled into panic, fear. I just don't know what he's gonna do. All right, boom. We are uploaded 120 lineups. All right, YouTube chat. What tool do you use? Answered that. Quirkmaz, Vooch and Damian Lee, or Bam and Glenn Robinson? Fucking good question. I'd say Vooch and Damian Lee. And that's mostly because I don't think Robinson has as much upside. But I like all four of those players. WiseTake chat. how much? Please talk Indy. I did that. I'm at 15 McConnell, 7 Holidays, 22 Sabonis, 7 Turner. I would be higher on all those guys. But, the Milwaukee shit's still there. It's still too, not super high speed. I understand. I might be a little too high on the Indiana thing. But also, both Indiana and Miami play tomorrow. A lot of the teams on this slate play tomorrow, which is always a slight concern. Like if the game gets out of hand, they kind of give up a little earlier. I'll pull up tomorrow. Tomorrow we have like a 13-game main slate. It's ridiculous. On a Saturday, very rare. But Hawks play tomorrow. 76ers play the Heat tomorrow. Pacers play the Pelicans tomorrow on the road.
I'm in. That was a mad scramble, bro.
Magic play tomorrow. Bucks play tomorrow. So be aware. Yeah, that was kind of scramblation.
Yeah, man, it just kind of crept up on me all of a sudden. I was like, you know what? I should probably do this, and this. And then it was just like, from there, just life happened.
All right, so my highest exposed top 5 is D'Lo, Ersan Ilyasova, Damian Lee, Aaron Baines, Alec Burks, Middleton, Draymond, Kelly Oubre. So 712, you know where I'm at.
Boom.
What one Miles Turner?
Three minutes to lock. Man, that was a wild one. I hate when all of a sudden shit goes wrong. It's just like, that's just really. Oh man, hit that like button, nation. Still 20% ownership, 4%. That's GPP leverage. Yeah, no, it's true. That is true. That is a good point with McConnell, Paulie, by the way, also is the leverage. Like, regardless of what play you actually like better, I know you like McConnell better anyway, but I'm just saying, leverage purposes, assuming Hill is going to be more popular than McConnell. Makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
How much spread are you playing?
He kind of got lost in that shuffle. I have like 12% of him.
Yeah. You on that. Lost in the scuffle. There's a lot going on. And dudes get lost in the scuffle. You know.
All right, we made it. Made it to lock. Good luck, everyone. Do the dirty on a Friday. Big slate tomorrow.
That's how we do it. That's going to do it for us today. Good luck tonight, nation. Paulie, always a pleasure. We will be doing the Wise stream tomorrow. That we got. It will not be on YouTube, so it's only for day passers. Then we have Stevie Brown on it. Potentially Cam. We'll see. But either way, for those of you that aren't a part of the WiseTake Nation, we will see you on Monday. For Paulie D, for myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.